Hey guys, so today we are dividing decimals, okay? When we divide decimals, really, there's not a lot of difference between normal division and dividing decimals. There's just one extra rule that you need to follow. We are going to learn some terms that might get you a little bit confused to start off with. The reason why we learn the terms is just so when I talk about the division and the sums that we're doing, you can identify which digits that I'm talking about, okay? So we're dividing decimals using an algorithm. We've been talking about algorithms a lot this term. So during this lesson, we're going to divide decimals by making sure the divisor, okay, that's one of those terms we're going to learn about, is a whole number, okay? In order to do this, we need to learn some key terms when using division, okay? So obviously we're going to learn what the divisor is and how to turn it into a whole number. So key terms when dividing. One, the number that you are dividing is called the dividend, okay? So I'm going to write a question here. 36 divided by 6. All right, so the number that you are dividing, which is this one, is called the dividend. That's the dividend right there. 2, the number that you are dividing by is called the divisor. So this one here that we talked about how it needs to be a whole number, that one there is the divisor, all right? And your answer is called the quotient, all right? So obviously 36 divided by 6 is 6, so 6 here would be our quotient. Quotient is the same as, you know, when you do multiplication sometimes, you've got, say, 6 times 6, and it says find the product of these two numbers. The product would be 36, okay? Quotient is the opposite of product. So if I was to say find the quotient of these two here, I'd be talking about finding 6, finding the answer when we divide there, okay? So let's have a look at a question here. So here we've got a question that says 1.22 divided by 0.2, okay? And our first step here is to shift the decimal point in the divisor so it becomes a whole number. So we need to move the decimal point once to the right to turn it into a whole number, okay? So in order to turn 0.2 into a whole number, I just shift that decimal point once to the right, okay? However, step 2 here says, whatever we do to the divisor, we have to do to the dividend. So because we changed that to a 2, I have to do it to the dividend, okay? I changed my divisor to a 2, now I have to do it to the dividend. So I just shift that decimal point once to the right as well, okay? And now we can divide as per normal. It doesn't matter that there's a decimal point in our algorithm. That doesn't matter at all. We still do it as per normal. 2 goes into 1, 0 times. 2 goes into 2. 2 goes into 12, 6 times. And then 2 goes into 2 once. So we get our answer of 6.1. Okay. So when we have questions, let's just say I've got something that looks like this. Let's say I've got, let's go 2.6 divided by 0.3. I need to turn this into a whole number. Okay, so I just shift the decimal point once to the right, and then I shift the decimal point once to the right on this one, and I end up with 26 divided by 3, which I can then do. Okay. Now, it's really important to understand when we do multiplying decimals, we put the decimal point back into our answer. We do not have to do that with dividing decimals, okay? We don't need to put the decimal point back into our answer. And to give you a reason why we don't have to do that, let me just make an example for you. Let's say I've got 1 divided by 2. Now, remember, a vinculum, that's called a vinculum, it means divide. Okay, if I multiply the bottom by 5, okay, I end up with a denominator of 10. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So let's multiply the top by 5 as well. And I've got 5 over 10. Now, 1 divided by 2, that equals 0.5, it's a half. And 5 divided by 10 also equals 0.5, it's a half. Okay, so if you actually get your calculator out and do this question, and you go 1.22 divided by 0.2, you will get exactly the same answer that we got over here. Okay, you'll get 6.1. The reason why we change the divisor, okay, into a whole number is just to make it easier when we do it in the algorithm. Okay, that's the reason that we change the divisor into a whole number to make it easier for us in the algorithm. Okay, and just like a fraction, like, I mean, you could set this question out as a fraction. You could have 1.22 divided by 0.2. The only reason why we do whatever we do to this number, we have to do to this number is the same reason as a fraction. If I want to move that decimal place once to the right there, whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top, okay? And we end up with 12.2 divided by 2, okay? So, time for you guys to do some questions. Now, with these ones, obviously, we are going to shift the decimal place on the divisor. The divisor is always the second number in every question, okay? Sometimes you're going to have to shift it more than one spot. Whatever you do to that side, you have to do to this side, okay? So this one up top here, this one would become 30.5 divided by 0.5 would change into, because we're shifting both of those once to the right, it would turn to 305 divided by 5, okay? And then whatever your answer is, that's your answer, okay? I'll let you do the division for that. I'm going to give you, let's say, about 2 or 3 minutes to get through all of these questions, and then we'll go through the answers. Good luck. Okay, let's go through the answers for those. So first of all, let's change this second one into a whole number. Okay, whatever I do to that side, I do to this side. And then let's do the question. Okay, so 5 goes into 3 0 times, but it goes into 36 times, and it goes into 5 1. So we've got 61 there for that one. Remember, you don't need to, unlike multiplying decimals, you don't need to put that decimal point back in anywhere. Okay, the answer is what it is. Okay, we shift our decimal point 2 places to the right here and 2 places to the right there. We've got 244.4 divided by 8. Okay, so 8 goes into 2 0 times, it goes into 24 3 times, it goes into 4 0 times with a decimal there, and then 8 goes into 44 5 times. And for this, you can use remainders, and that can be a remainder 4. If you didn't use a remainder and you found out what the answer would be. And let me just do that right now. We had a remainder of 4, so that means we would have 30.55. Okay, so you could have had 30.552, but I'm happy with either of those answers. Okay, let's shift the decimal point here, twice to the right there. And we've got 366 divided by 3. 3 goes into 3 once, into 6 twice, into 6 twice, 122 for that one. Okay, and for the last one here, we've got to shift our decimal point 3 places to the right. Okay, so it's going to end up there. All right, so 9.9 divided by 9. So 1.1. That's a fun question to do, isn't it? All right, very good. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next lot of questions now. So these ones are very similar to the second lot of questions that we did with multiplying decimals, okay? These aren't powers of 10, but they have zeros in them, okay? They have zeros at the end. When you have zeros at the end, we can shift the decimal place before we do the division. And with division, it's really important that we do that. Otherwise, I'd be doing something that looks like this, okay? And that, I don't know about you, but that hurts my brain. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get rid of these zeros. I'm going to remove those zeros, okay? And let's just do the question as is. I'm going to show you a couple methods of doing this. So we've removed those zeros and we're just dividing by 5 now. 5 goes into 30 6 times. Okay, now decimal point's there and it goes into 5 once. So I've got 6.1. Now I would bring those zeros back. Okay, so when I divide, I need to move my decimal point to the left. Okay, to the left. And there's 2 zeros there, so I'd shift it 2 places to the left. Okay, and I would end up with 0.061. Now, if you're like Mr. Wheel, that makes 0 sense to me. That's fine. Let me show you a different way of thinking about that. So what you could do to start off with, okay, is you could say there's 2 zeros here. I'm going to get rid of these 2 zeros. And I'm going to shift that decimal point 2 places to the left at the very beginning. Okay, at the very beginning. And now I'm going to do my division. So I draw up my division, okay, and I put in 0.305 divided by 5 because the zeros are gone now. And now I can just do it. 5 goes into 0 times. Decimal point stays in the same spot. It goes into 3 times. It goes into 36 times, and it goes into 5 once. So then my answer ends up being exactly the same as what we got up here. So there's 2 options for you. You can take the zeros away at the end, or you can take them away at the start. I would probably take them away at the start. For me, I feel like that's a little bit easier. So yeah, you'd get rid of the 0 here and you'd move it, and then you would do 0.2144 divided by 8. Okay, so have a go at those ones. I'll give you a couple minutes to do them, and then we'll go through the answers. All right, answer time. So let's do exactly what I just did when I showed you. I'm going to get rid of those 2 zeros and I'm going to shift that decimal point over to the left. And I'm sorry, I know I've done this question already, but let's just quickly get the answer for it again. So 5 goes into 0 0 times. There's my decimal point. Goes into 3 0 times, but it goes into 36 times and goes into 5 1. So here I've got 0.061. Okay, for my next one here, let's get rid of that 0 and shift the decimal place to the left. Okay, and I've got 0.2144 divided by 8. Okay, 8 goes into 0 0 times. There's my decimal point. 8 goes into 21 16, so twice with 5 left over. Sorry, it goes into 2 0 times. And then it goes into 21 2 times with 5 left over. And then 8 goes into 54. It goes into 54. What we got? We got 40 is 5, 48 is 6, and then 56 is 7. So it goes in 6 times with a remainder of 6. Okay, with a remainder of 6. Okay, so how many times does 8 go into 64? So we've got, excuse me, we've got 48 is 6, 56 is 7, and then 64 is 8. So it goes in 8 times. Fantastic, it works out perfectly. All right, so that means we've got 0.0268. Okay, hope you like your 8 times tables as much as I do. All right, so this next one here, let's get rid of these 2 zeros. Okay, we're going to shift the decimal point 2 places to the right. So we're going to end up with something that looks like that. Okay, so 0.0366 divided by 3. And that goes in 0 times, that goes in 0 times, that goes in once, that goes in twice, that goes in twice. Very easy division there with that one, which makes it good. Okay, so last question. We've got 2 zeros again. 1, 2. I need to get more creative when I write my questions. All right, so 0.099999. That's a lot of nines. Okay, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. How hard was that? Okay, so my answer there is 0.011111. Okay, so they're your answers for dividing decimals. If you still got problems, jump into the meeting and we can go through some more examples. If not, head over to the understanding questions and if you finish those, do some problem solving ones. Good luck, guys.